That was interesting.
I just ordered another 50.
Maybe I'll just try to finish this teaching. You go take her to school. I can't get all the, I mean, I don't know if they're not getting rid of it by Zoom. Either or. And that's fine. Just the overall ones.
That's it. If I have the right, it's 5:30, they were in a meeting at 6. Yeah, 5 minutes was for 6.
I'll remind you.
It's the same number.
I don't have it.
I might just write it down for you real quick.
Well, that works too.
Okay.
What do you room up front?
That number never changes. You're welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? Yeah.
That's what people
Yeah, it's shown. No. I was given an appointment. She's never been, but just.
We put it by the agenda, by the door there.
You want me to get it? Pass it?
She's wonderful. I've got a house. It's fine. I know, so I couldn't do it because I guess they'd have to say me. Just to put so much water in.
There,
Because I did, it's not that, but it's removed. I'm sure.
Pass the food.
Sure.
Yeah, it's pretty good happening.
Oh, there's one right there.
Call this meeting to order, Stuart City Council tentative agenda, Monday, May 9th, 2022, 6:30 p.m. Council chambers. Call Kirkpatrick.
Here.
Morgan. Here. Dolly.
Here.
Renslow.
Here.
Kava. Here. Agenda approval, consent agenda approval of minutes of 4/11/2022 and special joint meeting of 4/27/2022. Approval of financial statements as of 4/30/2022. Approval of bills as presented. Approval of liquor license Ruby's Unlimited LLC, Ruby's Pub and Grill.
So moved.
Moved by Enzo,
I'll second.
second by Kirkpatrick. How do you vote? Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Renslow?
Yes.
Kava?
Yes.
Okay, for city budget amendment certification resolution. This time I open up the public hearing. Did you receive anything, Ange? Any comments, concerns from general public? Close public hearing. B, resolution number 2218C, amending the current city budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022.
The new council member, amending the budget, is just balancing the budget to include all the bond issues that we previously and the rent we see. we including in the amendment of the budget in the fiscal year June 30th. So it has nothing to do with taxes, what we see, not increasing or decreasing. It's just a balance. Need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, moved by Renzo,
I'll second it.
second by Dolly. How do you vote? Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Renzo,
Yes.
Kavah.
Yes.
Aquatic Center Manager Shell, she here? Thrilled you took on the position.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shelley Young. There's a few things that I would like to try and see if we could do to have a benefit to the pool. I've had a couple of people reach out to me regarding senior citizen discounts and if we offered them or not. Currently, we do not offer that benefit. I would like to propose a $50 senior pass. That would be a $20 discount for. I would also like to propose the daily rate for them to be instead of 4. I'd also like to do a trial punch card. The punch card would be 20 punches for $60. This is a good benefit for grandparents that may have their grandchildren come to visit during the summer or those that may not live local but would free our aquatic center. 20 daily entrances would be $80 at full price. With the punch card, it would be a $20 discount. I've had several already contact me about pool parties, and I just need to know what the rate will be for this year. In the past, it has been $200 for up to 50 people. Parties can be reserved Saturdays and Sundays, 10 to noon or 6 to 8. Do we want to keep the rate at 200? Do we want to increase it to 25, to 50? Lastly, I would like to talk about the wages for our lifeguards. Cent raise for the hours that they are at least doing swim lessons and pool parties. These times are on top of our regular pool hours. During swim lessons, they are actively working and engaging with the kids. During private pool parties, there will be a manager present and 2 to 3 lifeguards. In the past, we have not offered concessions during this time because they are allowed to bring outside food and drinks, but that could be possibly offered as well. I want to thank you for taking the time to have me on your agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
I would recommend. I think it's a good idea.
I think all of them are very good ideas. And I don't think 200, like if you raise it to 250, I don't think that's overpriced. I think that's, it's fun to be able to go there and have fun. I mean, we've had birthday parties there. It's a blast.
We need a motion, it's okay with the council.
Make that motion.
Moved by Kirkpatrick.
So is this with the 75 cent?
Yeah.
Includes
Yeah.
lifeguards. Okay. So how do you vote? Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Renzo,
Yes.
Kavah.
Yes.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Shell. Thank you.
Okay, 6 privacy fence at 1511 Northeast Second.
We submitted this to our zoning administrator, Jason, and he recommended the council. So, to close the council, we need a motion on this.
Moved by Morgan,
I'll second it.
second by Dolly. How do you vote? Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Renzo,
Yes.
Kavah.
Yes.
Can you guys talk a little louder? We can't hear you back here.
Resolution number 2217C, approving the designation SLFRF funds for city approval.
We already allocated that, we just voting down the phone for motion. Motion on the resolution, we already allocated.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Renzo,
Second.
second by Morgan. How do you vote? Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Renzo,
Yes.
Kavah.
Yes.
Okay, 8, Forest.
Thank you, Mayor. Forest Aldership Feenstra and Kim. And 3 items on the agenda here. So the first one, I noticed the council packets didn't come through very well, so just for fun, I kind of made bigger ones.
Oh, yeah.
Bigger
That's a lot
ones to
better.
see, so you can see where you live and what manhole's getting repaired. And then included in the back, some photos of the manholes that we're fixing, just so you can kind of see what's under your tires. So tonight, we're just setting the bid date and the public hearing date. Your public hearing would be at your next council meeting. Bids we received the week before. And we have it set up for a base bid and 2 alternate bids so that we give some flexibility on trying to meet the budget and what we might want to do. And so recommendation is to just go ahead and set
Need a
those
motion
dates.
to set the date for next regular meeting in June for the public hearing.
Moved by Kirkpatrick,
No.
Arcala,
Second.
second by Morgan. How do you vote? Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Renzo,
Yes.
Cobal.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Second item is Casey's. And for those of you new to the council, the city entered into agreement with Casey's as part of a TIF agreement to complete the improvements around Casey's. Casey's did the street on the south side on 8th Street. They removed Garfield on the west, redid 7th on the north, did a lot of storm sewer improvements. So there was an agreement with Casey's to do the public improvements and then how the city would reimburse them through TIF. So that's not been finalized yet. Still some loose ends. And one of those loose ends is they hauled the broken concrete from everything, from the store and from the streets out east of town on Southeast 6th. Coat Road, tore it up, and this is way back and, been going on for quite a while, but the last was we put an email in November saying, here's how we come up with what we think the damages are for the street and the responsibility of Casey's. That should be in your packets for the math that we came up with. Jim and I went through that, and we came up with $11,150 that Casey's should pay for those damages. Also in your packet is a letter from last month from Casey's and a response. And they have their reasons that's also in there, and they're recommending, or they're willing to pay $5,408. And I'm not quite sure how they came up with that number, but that is what they're willing to contribute to the repair of the street. And so really the question before the council is that, do we want to accept Casey's? Do we want to stick to the 11,000 that we had come up with 11,150? Do we want to counter with something in between? Just kind of what council's thoughts are on how to respond.
So back at the end of last year, we sent them a letter, right, a default letter,
Yes,
and this was part of it, correct?
Yes.
And we gave them how much time to correct those issues?
yeah, nothing was done.
Nothing was done.
Yeah.
So Ash, what happens if they don't comply with their development agreement and we send them the default language like it said in the TIF agreement, correct?
Right now, I didn't certify for TIF with them last December. So if we're gonna continue the same situation, it will be similar to last year. They won't be getting TIF from us. So they should be looking at it different than us.
Right. Did they comply with any of the other things on our list?
Everything else is done. Did they? 2 items. They didn't redo the seating. You're going around the curve on the south side of Casey's. You go around the curve to Carl Chevrolet. There was some surface restoration on the south side. They did not get reseated and redone. So I think those are the 2 items remaining.
And you have no clue how they came up with this. I didn't see anywhere in here this $5,408.04
Yeah, no, I don't know.
as they, previously thought that they, they said, I thought it said maybe they're sticking to.
Yeah, they came up with that number before, and I said, how did you come up with that number? And then this is the letter I got in response of,
Okay.
how did you come up with that number?
It's not even half of. what-
Right, I didn't see, maybe it was further back in the email chain or something. I just
No.
didn't see that 5,400 when I was going through it. So I just was curious on where they even pulled that out of.
I had no idea. I asked that question as well, because they came up with a lot shorter and said, we'll pay this. And I said, well, how did you come up with that number? What's the justification for that? I said, here's how we came up with our number. And then this is what I have, so.
Ash, do you and Jim have any recommendation?
Well, 5 from 11 is, what I'm saying is they should look at it different because we're holding TIF money for them because of 5 to 11. If I'm in their shoes, I wouldn't really debate the 11,000 because they need to get the TIF on the next certificate in December. So for me, I don't have any problems even taking the 5 or 11 to finish that whole thing, if you want to finish it. You want to debate over it, I think the loss is not on our side, it's on their side. If you want to see.
Because
this
it's what they're losing out on TIF.
Yes. And we certify until they complete the project, and the project is not complete, and we explain that to them, so they are aware of that.
Yeah, they've not submitted their costs either for the project.
Right.
And that was part of the agreement for them to submit Casey's costs that they had for the project. We've not received that either. So
And
we
so-
can't even if this was done, we can't
Really
certify anything because we don't know what the cost.
If we
don't know
accept-
how they're looking at that.
If we accept the 5,400, is that leaving us open for saying that we're letting them go?
No, it just a counter offer and you just accept it. If you want, then close the case and then the rest on them to provide us with the cost and close the case so I can certify for TIF to give them money. So it's really kind of,
But why would we give them tip money if they haven't completed their?
we didn't certify last year because he haven't completed the project.
We wouldn't give them TIF money until that was done.
Yeah. So it's
So what if
really.
we say no to this? We just say no?
Yeah.
You just
Then
think
they have to,
Then
they
you-
have to come back and,
Then we come back and say, we believe in the number we came up with, 11,000, and say that's the number, and, I don't know, Casey's Casey's has attorneys, they might do something about that, but I don't know.
You can make a motion to decline the offer.
But there's no timetable with this, is there?
No,
No, there
and
isn't.
just hang out there for.
the next really timetable is a TIF certification in December.
December, so the.
I'm for, if that's what you believe is fair, I'm for sending them back. We believe the 11,000 is fair.
All right. You need a motion to decline the offer.
I'll make the motion.
Dolly,
I'll second it.
second by Kirkpatrick. How do you vote, Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Renzo?
Yes,
Kavah?
Yes.
I will inform Casey's as such.
thank you.
Look
Uh,
forward to that response.
It might be a couple months.
The last item is out in All Saints Inn on Wumble. We put the topsoil out there when we put the development together, but then the home builders, some home builders, not all, some home builders, when they dig the basement, they throw the clay that they dig up in the backyard. And then when they're done, they take that mixture of topsoil and clay and scrape it and backfill around the house. And then, there's not a whole lot of topsoil left in the backyard either. So some cities have gone and put in by ordinance saying that home builder, you're required to have this much topsoil when you're done with, building your house. Now, that's either segregating the topsoil that's out there, or that means hauling in some topsoil. And urban design and it's kind of the statewide standards, recommends 8 inches of topsoil. So that was just something that there's been some conversations with some homeowners out there and with Matt that, you know, is that something that the council wants to look at, put into the ordinance? If it is, we would come back and have something written in an ordinance, probably in a subdivision ordinance, for you to look at and act upon. But this is, I don't want you to take this lightly. I would, you know, talk to those home builders, talk to the developers out there, because this will add costs to the lots, well, to the home, the cost of the home out there. And, you know, you may get some pushback, but at the same time, you know, not having any topsoil in people's yards isn't good either. So it's just, and for your information, think about if there's some direction tonight that the council wants to give me on coming back with something as an ordinance, I can sure do that. Just kind of bring it to the council's.
So nobody's talked with any developer out there at this time, do we know?
Matt, you know if anybody's talked to any home builders out there about topsoil requirements or anything?
I have not raised that question.
Would this be something that you would do, Matt? Would this be something in your purview to do?
Yeah, we can.
I got a question. I got 2 homeowners here that live out there. Have you had any trouble with your grass growing, or?
It's probably not the best.
Not the best. Okay. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, we also probably were a little negligent on our grass too, but yeah, it's definitely not the best.
So maybe that is something to look into.
But I know it would be costly.
Yeah.
You're definitely adding.
Is there a ballpark with that would be?
I don't, I mean, if they take the topsoil that's there and spend the time to remove that and put it back when they're done, you know, stockpile it in a corner somewhere. But if they don't do that and have to bring it in, that it's more money, or they take it from, you know, some other, they might have a place close that they can bring it in from. I don't have a dollar amount for that. I'm sure the home builders will tell you.
So really, maybe this is something we should, if this is in Matt's corners, maybe have him approach them and kind of.
You just want to ask them
Yeah,
to
just kind of-
voluntarily do it, because it's actually a requirement.
This is a requirement, this is a requirement. Is
This
that
would
what you're saying?
become a requirement.
So it's not a requirement now.
It's
Okay,
not
so
a
It's not a requirement now. So that's why he
I
was
know
saying,
there's something with that organization that SUDA, I thought that was.
Yes,
A state
the
requirement.
city of, no, because city of Stuart has not adopted SUDAS.
right, because we'd have to put that into our ordinance, and that's,
Yes,
you know, I don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction and say, let's put it in our ordinance without kind of getting some, you know, I mean.
Yeah. now, it would be for the council to adopt SUDAS, and there are a lot of cities in the state that have done that. But that's a lot of time and effort that involves the utility, because it affects, you know, water mains as well. So, and then you have to go through and what exceptions does Public Works want to SUDAS and the city want, and so that's a big, huge effort.
Right.
But that's another route to go, is to adopt SUDAS, but that's a year from now kind of look, if the council's interested in that.
So really, in the meantime, I would recommend we give this to our economic development coordinator to visit with the home builders out there and kind of get their views on that before we make any final decision.
And maybe some contractors to give ballpark price. I mean, I don't know what it is. I'm sure there are people that just what's the cost per truckload of dirt.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it's gonna add, but I'm sure there's people that know
Probably
that.
quite a bit. By the time you go in there and strip all that, and truck it in and relay in, you probably get up there quite a few thousands. And that's a lot to ask a homeowner to fork out of your pocket.
Okay, the recommendation was made to Matt Funk. Okay.
Forrest, I got a quick question for you.
Sure.
What's the status with the new sidewalk when you're gonna start construction going to the street?
So that is we're taking bids in next month. It's bid through the DOT. So it's not a local bid opening, it's through the DOT. And so we're opening bids in June. They have a completion of by the end of this year. But then they have an early start date of like July or August, but they could wait until September to start if they want.
Nice.
And that's all controlled by the DOT, not by us.
Okay,
Thank
So
you, Forrest.
we'll know more at that bid opening next month.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Forrest.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
9, Economic Development Director map. A, B, and C.
What's the A? I didn't print off of.
Andy Forrest tip application.
Oh. Andy is, had some issues come up with purchasing the building. And he is now resorted back to the plan of using the land he had and getting a building built. And he's working with Jason Van Alsdale. And he's going through the motions to work with the city on getting a building built. So that's the update.
And you've talked to him about the minimum assessment,
Yes.
how what it takes.
Yeah.
So,
He's also applied for TIF as well. I believe that his application, TIF application is in your packet.
so Matt is updating you on the situation with Andy, and then also discussing item A, which is the TIF request from Andy Forrest. The TIF, we usually, in this case, we refer to the bond attorney and the city financial advisor. I think he's asking for 100,000.
That's what she's asking for, yes.
Over how long?
10 years.
10 years?
10 years and minimum assessment. So we'll refer to the bond attorney and city financial advisor for evaluation.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Moved by Renzo. Second by Morgan. Morgan.
Yes.
Dolly.
Yes.
Renzo.
Yes.
Kaba.
Yes.
Okay, B. Sadie.
Sadie, but application as well.
Is this for just the one building or is this for both buildings?
Just for the one building, just the one address.
It's just the ice cream shop.
It's just the ice cream
I
shop?
thought when I
Is that the address of the ice cream shop?
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll create it the same way, like we did with Andy.
right. I'll make the motion to refer.
Okay, moved by Renzo. Second by Morgan. How do you vote? Patrick.
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Dolly.
Yes.
Renzo.
Yes.
Kaba.
Yes.
Okay, C, Hotel Stuart Development Agreement.
And then, the Matt House. Last conversation, he's contesting his TIF agreement. He was supposed to be here today.
He's here.
He is here.
And, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We, been working on that project for the last, I would say, million years.
Yeah, it's December 2020.
Yeah, so, no, but before that, too, before your time.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
we came to, as we speak now, I hate to say, we're very much done. All we need is Matt's signature on the development agreement. We held the hearing and all this legal process to the point that if Matt signed the development agreement today or yesterday or last month, but Matt has some concerns. He talked to Matt Funk about it. I had a conference with the bond attorney, Matt and I and bond attorney, and we came to a conclusion. But I will let Matt address his concern first. And go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, so the issue was, December 2020, before I bought the hotel, I think some of you will remember it was on the council at that time. We had a meeting, Brian, Chip, Kristen, and, wanted to see what the city could do if I bought the hotel. At that time, they were talking about, the previous developer with Blanc basically paid out $100,000 after completion. During the meeting, they said, well, can you be more flexible with us, spread it out, keep the minimum assessment at $225, but spread out the payments over 3 or 4 years. I said, totally fine, and then we had a council meeting. I think Ashley called in from somewhere at that night, and everybody was on board with it. And I'll give you the quick, synopsis. Basically, fast forward to, I think, was it, Matt, when was it here last? January, December? Probably
It was December.
December, and talked to Brian on this numerous times. And even at that time, that was the agreement that we thought we were moving forward with, the 100,000 spread. I mean, Chet was doing this analysis for, 3 or 4 years, with a minimum assessment of 225. Anyway, so, I proceeded with, starting the construction of the hotel. I think, as of now, on the first floor, we spent $86,000 through the 20th of last month. There's other issues that just came up this last week with structural issues that, structural engineers, like, I won't go on, I can talk to any of you about that, but going back to the development agreement. So then what was passed last month was, paid out over 10 versus the 225. So was that, even up until December, we thought, the agreement was gonna be one thing, and then what was passed was something else. And so my frustration I shared with Ash was just lack of communication, or, that obviously as a city, you can do whatever you want. You can say one thing and, you can choose to do something else, which is fine. I just wish if that was the way the city was gonna go, that somebody would have communicated that with me, December when I was here last, or, any time until, last month. So, because I told Ash, I said I never would have bought the hotel if that, if the deal was gonna be something else.
I'm confused now. What was it when we initially started? I thought it was 225 when we started. Was it not? Has it always been 325?
325 is the first time I heard.
I'm sorry, I was-
so-
yeah.
Go ahead.
So. No, I don't believe it was 225 back in.
Do you remember, Mike?
January.
Sorry.
No, we can, I
So-
thought Brian was gonna be here tonight, but I don't see him here.
Okay, so in the packet was some scenarios that Chip had printed off, and if you look on the date on those are December 20.
I think the whole confusion from my step in, previous to all these development agreement that were passed and all this, there was a lot of negotiation with Matt, but it wasn't really at the council table for motions and all this stuff. So it's just a mix of all this communication, what got Matt to be a little bit confused. That's really how I see it, kind of, you had a lot of talk with Chip and Bobby Brian, and they were in the process of negotiating with you. And then when we came to the point to move on with the development agreement, we all felt like it's clear and we tried to move on. 325 is what I remember, to be honest with you, how we put it everywhere, moved on. The stuff that we put in the council packet that was, like Matt said, was in 2020. That's why I'm saying the whole subject took a lot of years.
About
There's a
when in
point-
2020, Ash?
Yes,
When in 2020, you remember?
December,
December.
right at the end of the year, we had a special, I think you can look up, I think there's some meeting minutes probably from it as well.
it's in the paper in the back. I think the one we put it in the back.
I mean, I remember the 100,000, I just don't remember the minimum
There was a
assessment.
lot of talk.
Yeah, I even talked to Brian a
Yeah,
few
and
weeks,
I'm not-
a week ago, and he said he was shocked at the 325 number.
It's what we have, the $100,000 development tip from us. And then depending on whether he signs that, it relies on the 100 catalyst.
Catalyst.
And I have a good news to add to you.
There's a second
You just got a grant.
Yeah, Yeah, a
185.
downtown housing grant, so.
for 185.
Yeah.
So now we're at 385 in
Yes,
grants.
so I would sign it, not. That's
I think he's
what we're
looking at
going
something.
to do.
I have to add though that when I came on, I got, okay,
Of
Last year.
2021.
2021, and then going through the process, I still had to follow up on the TIF agreement with him, with Matt House. But by that time, we had already done 5 other TIF agreements that year.
Did Kristen have any notes left on what?
Yeah, that's how I
Okay.
found out, having to follow up on that.
Okay.
So, but in the process of doing all that, we had around 5 other
Yeah, you
applications
had a
for
lot
TIF
of it.
that year.
Did you find the minutes?
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't state the amount. They talked about, we were looking at doing 150,000 in TIF and to reduce that down to 100,000 if you got the catalyst right.
That's really what was officially discussed, is the amount that you be given, you know. In no way, in a public meeting, we have the minimum assessment, all the stuff with the dollar amount, you know. But I can see it's been a lot of years, like Matt said, we did 5 since he started here to do use. I don't know, I think you and I talked about it. like,
Yeah, I mean,
I had
that's
to
my,
develop
yeah, my
agreement.
issue was just lack of communication. If it was
Yes.
gonna change,
That could be.
no one, you know.
That could be, but things going okay with some logic. I just
Well, we
received that
have-
letter 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we have more structural issues on the north side. We had a structural engineer out for a couple hours on Friday. Part of the facade's pulling away from the structure
Yes.
on the northwest, northeast, and then there's parapet issues over on the, so I mean, there's, you know. It's a, you know, what's that?
I know.
What do you do?
Well, and the city is doing really the best to help you out, and as I told you in my office, that I recommend that we move on with the development agreement we have, and have you sign it and move forward with the new grant that we got, and let's get things going. If it's that okay with you, let's close that issue tonight and move on, let's move on. We'll be okay with that?
Well, like I said, you know, I just,
Yeah,
I guess we can disagree, but
I know.
that's my frustration.
We got to this point, which is a good point. All right,
Yeah.
you know, if you walk with me to my office and sign that agreement, we're done.
Yeah.
It's, that's
Well,
it.
Even my attorney said, you know, he's talked to your attorneys,
Yeah.
which he's worked on other development agreements for me previously too, with the same attorney, so it's not. But even the language in there, you know, typically there's some communication with the developer on their attorney reviewing the document before. Just because, you know, legal, whatever, he's like, you know, we need to, and he's had that conversation with the city attorney, whatever, since then too. So that's a little bit too, where it's like, I wish I would have a, you know, copy of the development agreement. I know Matt sent it a few days before you passed it, but that really, that was the first time I saw it, period. So, I mean, as a practical matter, I just think it's good policy to at least have some sort of communication and some dialogue back and forth. So I guess what you're saying, Ash, is, you know, if the city's not willing to go back and, you know, review what was done, then, you know, I guess that's certainly your choice.
I don't know if it's so much not wanting to review, it's just based on the other TIF agreements, the budget.
I was gonna say, it's just probably not there.
And congratulations on the last event,
Thank
so,
you.
because good news coming towards you.
Yeah, I talked
and-
to Nick at the head of the state today, and it's, you know, super excited, you know,
And
to,
we're gonna do more to the logic with you, you know, you already showed that. And we're here for you, and like I said, let's have a happy ending to this whole thing.
I hope so.
We have done all the paperwork. All man has to do is just go by tomorrow and sign it, and that's it, we're done. So,
Okay.
you good?
Yeah,
All right.
okay.
Thank you.
All
sir.
right.
Yeah. Okay, we don't need to do anything. We're done with the issue. Matt is gonna stop by tomorrow and sign the agreement. Okay.
Okay. City employee wages.
We discussed that over
Say
the,
what utilities just did.
yeah, we discussed this over the budget work session. And if you remember, I know it was a while ago, that we considered 4% increase of wages for the names that listed on the first page here, so let's say city. I always recommend what we consider in the budget work session, unless the council see it necessary to increase that 4%, which I wouldn't say no. You would. But I would recommend to go below that 4%.
On the utility side.
And utility, yeah, the utility side, I would 4% too.
So that's 4%. But what about the part-time people?
What you see on the list has 2 part-time, and this is,
They get 4% also?
yes.
Okay, and then, is it my understanding that you're gonna talk to Sean
Yes, I'll talk to Sean. and
about
then-
an increase for our paramedics and our EMTs?
Yes, and we'll discuss, we have a joint meeting on Thursday. We'll discuss that rescue unit. So tonight, I would recommend to pass the 4% to the people on that list: City Hall employee, Economic Development Director, Public Works, employee, police, rescue, and part-time.
With the understanding that you're gonna talk to Sean and,
Yes, yes.
okay,
definitely.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Where did we come up with the 4% just on? I'm just asking.
At the budget work session,
Okay.
we came up with the 4%.
So we have a motion by Renslow. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Kirkpatrick. How do you vote, Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Morgan? Oh, yeah, okay. Dolly,
Yes.
Renslow,
Yes,
Cobal.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Cemetery mowing, Ash,
Okay.
we talked about this.
Yes, we have received a letter from Corey, and I include that letter in your packet. Unfortunately, he is declining, rescinding the previous agreement. And I will be reading what's in the letter. You already had a chance to read that. So at the moment, we don't have anyone to do the mowing. That's a significant question. Yes.
When you got this letter, Aish, what did you do, if anything, to see if there was a resolution to any of these issues he brought up?
I didn't get a chance to talk to Corey. I think he just lobbed it off.
You didn't reach out to him at all?
But that,
You didn't reach out to him to see?
I didn't have a chance. It was Friday. I put it on the agenda. Actually, I had to bring back the agenda in the back and redo it and put it on the agenda and send it to everybody to look at it. Apparently, he's not happy with what I read, so I don't know. But that's very much what happened when I got.
It seems like it's just our policy just to let it go, is that right? We don't try to reach out to see what's going on? I mean,
Usually they come to me when they have issues, but he didn't come to me. He just dropped it off and left me.
So after we approved this, who reached out to Countryside Lawn Solutions to say, you were awarded the bid, please come in and sign this?
We did. We sent him and it's documented. We sent it by email to him and he came and took the stuff that he need to sign. He took it to his lawyer.
Oh.
So, yeah, and we have all these documentation.
Okay.
But he didn't bring it back with signature. He brought it back with an envelope saying, I decline. So that's very much what happened.
May I ask why he declined?
He sent a letter explaining why.
I know, but there had to be more to it than just that.
I don't know. This is what I got.
What's your recommendation?
Would you, hey, would you please read the letter, because there's a lot of people here that didn't see it or haven't.
And so we can hear it, please?
Yes.
And one thing we're gonna do is we're not gonna go back and forth here. This is,
All right.
Maybe.
To whom it may concern, Countryside Lawn Solutions LLC has decided to rescind all previous agreements and withdraw previous bids regarding the mowing and spraying of the North and South Oak Grove cemeteries for the city of Stuart. This decision was made, but not limited to, the following reasons. Number one, payment/mowing contract presented on May 2nd, 2022 does not match previous bid, advertisements, and agreements. Number two, oversight of contract has been changed from the cemetery committee that was a pleasure to work with to a city employee that has vowed at a council meeting to make my life a living hell, in quotations. That is being considered a threat against Countryside Lawn Solutions, LLC. Legal actions against said employee is being considered. Number three, payments for accepted bid and contracts was to be made in 8 payments due the 15th of each month, April to November. As of May 5th, 2022, there has been no payment received. This leads Countryside Lawn Solutions, LLC to believe the remaining payments will be denied or withheld for any given reason due to the threats made against Countryside Lawn Solutions, LLC by a city employee who is now the oversight of the cemetery. And number four, payment/mowing contract states subcontracting is allowed. Advertising of accepting bids clearly states no subcontracting is allowed. Thank you, Corey, owner.
Okay, so
So I'm just concerned that you received a letter like this. What action have you taken on any of these issues that he's brought up?
me, as a city administrator,
Yes.
the council need to take action, not the city.
No. There's a lot of stuff in here that you could investigate. What have you
Okay,
got? I mean,
council
it surprises me that we would receive a letter like this and we wouldn't bend over backwards to reach out. I mean, to find out what's going on, get to the bottom of it. It's just like, oh, okay, thanks, we're done with you. That's it.
Ash, did you talk to the city attorney?
Yes.
Well, like the payments part of it, I mean, we would have to approve that at our May meeting anyway for the bills, correct?
Yes.
So April 15th, just because you start that contract doesn't mean you're getting a check April 15th, correct?
We approved the contract April 27th.
Right. So that was our bad. You know, we kind of went past a little bit that. I get that. But, you know, he says in number 3 that, you know, he hasn't been paid yet. Well, no, he wouldn't have been, not yet.
And the email we sent it to him is to please sign the contract and the first payment is available for you.
Sure.
Now, you said sign the contract and the first payment is available?
Yeah.
So whenever he signed this, he would have got paid?
Yes.
So, okay. It just seems really, I mean, that's a big allegation in there,
The whole thing is allegation.
you know?
And that's the reason we turned it over to the lawyer, right?
And with the lawyers know.
He said any concern
Mhm.
needs to be submitted to them.
In writing.
As far as like him taking legal action? Or,
Well, we don't know who's taking legal
but I
action.
mean, as far as him, if he did, is that what you're saying, or just?
I'm not a lawyer. If somebody threatening me to take a legal action,
No, but that's what I'm saying, are we just, it's just, if he takes legal action, that's just going to the attorney. We just give it.
yeah, that's how we do
But we could have tried to resolve this maybe without that prior to anything happening.
it. The timing of the whole thing, if we receive Friday,
It sounds like we tried to resolve it. He came in to sign it and they wouldn't sign it.
Do we
I mean,
have,
it was his there to sign.
do
It
we
was
have
his
any
contract. We all voted on that.
proof, for number 2, it says at a council meeting? Aren't all our council meetings on YouTube?
Yeah.
So if an employee said, make my life a living hell, that would be on YouTube.
yes.
That depends.
Depends.
It depends. That's not a guarantee that cameras pointed up here, you know.
But if
So,
Mr.,
It doesn't,
Or it could have been as they walked out the door.
I'm sorry, I'm speaking to Mike for council.
That's the reason, Mike, we're not lawyers, and that's the reason.
I understand.
It just showed up late Friday, it's in the packet, and handed the lawyer.
Okay, so what's our solution?
Your solution is to accept his declining of the, doing the mowing, and
Usually go to the next bid.
you can go the next step.
Do we have to go to the next bid?
You don't have to do anything.
Okay.
It's all the council choice.
What's this on help for Jim being hired? He's got a couple, what do you got, Jim? A couple applicants and that's it? Applicants for,
Correct. Yeah, currently, yes.
What's been the process, like, when did applications get received, or what's the status of the interview?
well, it was in a long time ago, $15 an hour. A week ago, it come out again at $15 an hour, which it shouldn't have been. It should have been just part-time or full-time employment, so they changed the ad. It's out in the Stuart Herald plus other venues for help.
Where
Yeah,
would you
we're
go with that,
changing.
James?
Good.
I just was curious if, since this is gonna be. How are you gonna handle it?
Well, that's what.
Did he
Usually
even,
you take this.
did Corey even show up? Was he here? You know?
I think you know the answer to that
Well,
question.
I'm asking, I'm just asking. I don't know him, I've never met him, I don't know if he's there or not sitting in the audience or not what's going on, so. What,
Oh,
Countryside, lawn.
if we do accept it, which, I mean, I haven't,
He's here, Mike.
oh,
Good, he's here.
No,
Resignation.
where is he at?
right
He's
here in
right.
the front row.
Oh, can you come up, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You mind? So, I understand, I mean, I can get this, having gone through this for month after month myself, I can understand your frustration in all of this. We've heard nothing, I've heard nothing about good things, compliments, I've seen it on Facebook.
That's what I've heard from,
Right, and I don't understand the persecution going on, on this. So, what would,
I believe there was a coup last year to have him
Okay.
ousted, and it stemmed from that.
is there any way to proceed? If we kept you, is there
At
anything?
this time, there is no way I'm gonna sign that contract that was issued on the second.
Yeah, let's move on.
I
That's our decision.
I
He
cannot.
made the
Hey,
decision.
hey, Corey,
Well,
was
You're not gonna
talking,
talk
and
to
don't hush your because Corey was talking and I want to hear his answer. And it is disrespectful for any council member out here
What do you
to
say?
talk over a person. Just
Call the
let him
order.
finish his sentence, that's all.
What did he say?
Call
I
the
know,
order,
He's not gonna
please.
sign it. That's what he said.
We're done. He said something else.
What
So
else you
let
say,
him
Corey?
finish. I mean,
Dick, can we call this
Have
meeting to
some-
order, please?
some respect.
Let him talk.
Oh,
Whoa,
that was
Dick,
me.
Dick,
Cool.
stop. One moment. We just had somebody in the audience tell me to shut up. Not appropriate during a council meeting.
Who was it?
Susie Belding, not
Okay.
appropriate.
Corey, finish your statement.
At this time, I would not sign that contract. It contradicts everything that was in the procedure agreement and in the advertisement itself. That document, no, it is not what was previously agreed to. It was made up after the fact, after the bids were submitted, after the advertisements, after the contract or procedures were signed. Then they throw another contract at me that contradicts everything that was previously agreed to. I'm not signing that contract this time.
Thank you.
And that's what our lawyer did. Okay.
Okay, so, what I would recommend, and I think I might as well make a motion here, is that we do accept his resignation. However, that due to the fact that this is a public work thing and the public works director has repeatedly said that he is in charge of the cemetery, that the mowing be put under the public works to handle the mowing and not bid out.
There's no
That
way.
way,
Thank
Thank you,
you.
that way we avoid any controversy on bids anymore. We avoid any controversy of contractors padding their their estimate, as we were told, that contractors do. And we have two people that can mow it, plus they mow other stuff here, so why are we bidding out this when it's public works stuff anyway?
Now, may I respond to that? How in the world do you expect two? They've got 25 hours of mowing already.
Well, they better hire another person then.
No, well, no, I think we need to go with the next lowest bid. And hire
Well,
somebody.
I've made my motion, I want to
Okay.
hear if there's
See
a
if
second
anybody
on that.
seconds.
Second.
Did we finish James's?
We got a second?
And that's where, I think you're kind of going where I was going.
To have the city employees mow it.
Yep, they stood up here and told us how, that's public works, that's their thing, they're overseeing it, so let's give it to them.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I mean, until we can get something else figured out.
How do you vote? Kirkpatrick,
No.
Morgan, Dolly,
Can I still ask one question?
yeah.
Yeah,
Can we, are we talking a temporary fix? Or, because if we don't hire someone, I don't see how we can possibly do it.
if we want to do something different, then yeah, why not? I mean,
Dave,
give it to
ask
them in
Jim
the
if he has
meantime,
time for that.
until we do it.
Ask
Well,
Jim.
I understand that with two people, it's gonna be
It's gonna
very
be
hard. We're
difficult.
gonna have to hire
It's gonna be
someone like
difficult.
that they're trying to hire.
But there's
That's what
no
James-
applicants.
There are applicants.
That's what I heard too.
Yes, there are 2 applicants.
But even with the third one, Ash and I penciled out having Jim.
Okay, can we go with the vote? Can we continue the
Okay,
vote?
okay.
I'd like to finish the vote.
Yeah, I just don't know if I have enough information to make it.
So what information are you looking for?
I'm looking at, where are we on we're at 0 for the process of hiring another person right now?
Well, they've got applicants and they've got an
And
interview.
what's the timetable potentially on that? It's I get, our cemeteries need most now.
Probably.
Yesterday.
And is this essentially a Band-Aid to just get by until we come up with a better long-term solution?
I am willing to do that, yeah. We give it to them now, we figure out what's gonna go on, because they need to get mowed, and let's get it done.
Right, so if we
Look at Jim.
vote to do this, then we will, when's the timetable on revisiting or coming up with if we're going to bid it out, or if we get another person to help mow, because I don't want this to be, hey, we have 2 people and this is a lot, we gotta get it done.
Jim,
You know,
or
kind of
Dick,
thing.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
gonna have Jim.
Jim raised his hand.
I want Jim to get his input on, they spent today mowing with 25 hours what they spent a week.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but
They need another
somebody.
person.
And another person would not do the cemetery. The other person was designed to start doing all the street work, the sewer work and everything else that's been, but they've got 170 trees that need cut down from the sidewalk to the parking. Go ahead, Jim,
We have one lawnmower and one weed eater.
is what you have.
Time out.
Yeah.
There's a motion and a second
Yeah.
on the floor.
He wanted more information. That's
We
what
can't talk about it after the
Okay.
second.
Okay, well, it's up to Dave.
Okay,
You get in the hot seat again.
yeah, I'm gonna vote no.
Angelo?
Abstain.
Come on.
Yes.
2 years, 2 months. Doesn't get.
Okay.
So now what do we do?
Well, now I've talked to Ash today on this. And next recommendation I'm saying is take the next lowest bid.
We're still going through a process of contract and stuff, so
Yeah.
But if you bid, if your contract's signed.
I'm not saying you have an outlandish motion here. I'm just saying I think that needs to be.
You gotta vote the way
Yeah, I just think that
you feel.
we need to get it mowed, we
I
need to get it
will
mowed
not-
now,
I will not question.
and we need
if
to
the
have a
vote is certain.
long-term solution as well.
Right.
You know, in my opinion, us as a council sitting up here are gonna get nailed at every angle.
Yeah,
We didn't hire the countryside. We didn't hire Corey. He didn't take the contract. No matter who we use, we're gonna be nitpicked. No matter, we could be the big guys out of Des Moines. It does not matter. We're gonna be nitpicked. So I don't know what a good solution is to make everybody happy.
You never will.
To get it mowed.
But it's a week behind right now.
Right,
Getting
no,
mowed.
I'm aware,
And
yeah.
I know what Corey and Jim do every day, and they're spinning the wheels, they're running behind. And I said, Jim, the soccer complex needs gravel. When I get time, you need mulch. It's just one thing I think, they spent hours and hours to get the pool ready. And I've told the council before, Greenfield has 6 employees. Guthrie has numerous employees. We don't have near the employees to handle this. And we used to have the city employees mow the cemetery, and then they figured out it's a lot cheaper to contract that, usually don't mow it.
Well, now that raises a question. They still mow the park and other parcels. Why are they mowing that then? Why don't we contract that out and then they have more time to do their stuff? How
I
come
think
that's-
that's been discussed, but not brought forward.
How much time does it
Carry
take to
forward.
mow our cemeteries?
John,
Right now,
John Schwinger, can you answer that?
Let him answer.
what's it take to mow our cemeteries?
Last year, 4 trimmers, 4 mowers, was a 10 to 12 hour day.
40 to 50 man hours, depending on how you do it.
So you're 40 hours with one guy.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a way that we can just stop with this, the cemetery issue, this number 11?
Yes.
Can we open it up to a public forum? Let's
Yes.
see what the public has to say.
Yeah.
Let's at least listen to them.
Yeah, we can do that, yeah,
Can we do that?
yeah, let's go to number.
Can we
12.
just take care of 12 before we
Yeah,
open up the
yeah,
public forum? That way,
Yeah, Alan.
Oh, sure.
Bogey is here.
Alan wants to go. He doesn't have to sit here and listen to all this.
I'm not good at speaking.
Oh, that's all right, Alan.
Neither are we.
Neither are we.
I'm just asking a request, if the council would approve giving the Concord Meals a donation. We've had asked for it in the past. Like I said in the thing there, we have a 2-door refrigerator that we have to replace. And we have to come up with 25% of the amount of the refrigerator. And that's $1,400.
Say that again now.
I said we have to come up with, the 25% is $1,400. We have obligations that cannot be funded by Elder Bridge, which funds our organization. We pay for lights, a percentage of the utility bill for the church. And there's some other costs that Elder Bridge will not cover that we have to use donations or money that we have.
Is this Ash, have we done this before?
Yeah, we've done it many times, and we usually give them around the $500, very reasonable amount, and I would recommend.
I think you guys do good work. I know you served my mom when she was getting them and stuff, so I definitely appreciate that. I hope that doesn't make me have a conflict of interest in making a motion to approve the $500.
So is this 500 plus the 1,400?
No, just
The 500?
just as
I
500.
was just being a good citizen.
Motion by Kavah, do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Dolly. Okay. How do you vote? Patrick?
Yes.
John.
Morgan?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Renslow?
Yes.
Kavah?
Yes.
The clients and the board appreciate it. Thank you very
Dick?
much.
Thanks,
Just a quick couple-minute break before we get into this public forum.
Yeah.
And then also, can we set a limit, like maybe
Yeah.
5 minutes per person or something?
Yeah.
So,
And if it gets out of hand, we'll shut it down.
I think we just need to find a solution,
Yes.
not nitpicking back and forth.
are we good to take a small break?
Yeah.
What time do you want us back?
I need like 2
Nine.
minutes of that.
Oh, that should be.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, 40.
I'll be right back.
They were both probably.
Yeah, he's got a good job.
That's right.
That's what we did. Well, that's what I said. Don't put the wage. Able to do the job, just raise the wage.
That's about all I've heard.
Oh, yeah, that'll be
He
good.
sent me a text saying Mother's Day, but that's about it.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, no, you're right.
I had a number of things break at the restaurant and I completely spaced.
You have time?
Yes, really. Tomorrow is crazy because of the, we have Main Street. So there's Sure, yeah. Let me, I'll look at my schedule, what the shopping.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Deal for.
No, it's other small.
We started with all about everything.
I never liked it when that
I think it's here, but.
No, back there long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been pushing for this for a
I thought it was on the word. It's on my pod. That's what somebody else told me. I was like, wow.
Okay, we're gonna start again. Well, I'm gonna tell people right now, if this gets out of control, everybody's leaving. I'll call one person at a time to talk. We're not going back and forth and screaming and yelling at people. We've had enough of that. Mike wants, and Corey, wants people to come up and talk, that's fine. There's gonna be a time limit. We're not gonna badger the council. Please say what you wanna do politely. Okay, the public forum's open. Who wants to come up?
Can I start something not related to the mowing stuff?
You will be on the agenda Thursday,
Sure, okay.
okay? So
Well,
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
I think he has something else to tell
yeah,
us.
a couple other things, yeah, just some quick updates is all.
Oh, okay.
So, I'll wait.
Wait for Alpha to get done, then you come
Do
up.
you want, can we just listen to him real quick in case he gets a call? I mean, if he gets a rescue call.
No,
It should be all right.
Come up
Sorry.
here to the microphone, Sean.
I would just hate for him to
Real quick.
lose what he had to say if he
Real
gets
quick.
called out.
So I got an email on Friday, update on the ambulance delivery date. So we were expecting something in July. Apparently I misread that because the date was gonna be October. Well, as of last week sometime, Chevy canceled all chassis orders for 2022 model years. We cannot order a 2023 chassis until July 11th. So they think December of this year is a rough timeline for when we would get that. And we won't know anything until late July.
Can we look at demos? Have you ever looked at demos?
So I was discussing this earlier today with somebody. You can't, no, because
Okay.
there are ambulances we can buy, but by and large, the problem is that nobody can get ambulances.
Okay.
The city of Des Moines can't get ambulances, West Des Moines, doesn't matter if you're buying 10 or 1 like we are, there's just no ambulances to buy. And as soon as they roll off, then they're allocated to somebody. Or, the other part of that would be is that we signed a contract for, 157 something odd thousand or whatever it was. As soon as we go to a different ambulance, then we have to pay whatever premium for that new ambulance. So and that's something that potentially we would have to look into, but right now I think our best bet is to wait until July and say, what is our real timeline and where are we at? So just thought I'd give an update on that.
Okay.
Thank you, Sean.
Yep.
Thank you, Sean.
I'll talk to you
Yep.
tomorrow, Sean.
Okay.
I'll make this very quick. Thanks for listening. I appreciate everything the council does, and I can't imagine it sometimes. It's unfortunate. We hope that you never have to put up with that, but I'm sure you do. I have 2 questions. Number 1, why was the committee formed in the first place, the cemetery committee?
To help the council.
I'm sorry?
To help the council, by taking care of the cemetery issue.
And because of a lot of damage that had been done to headstones. I mean, our family in particular had
Yeah.
quite a bit of damage,
And yes,
and because the city chose not to pay for it, or have the contractor pay for it,
yes.
many of us had to pay for the damages ourselves. That's in the past, but I wanted to mention that. Why was it disbanded? Because I thought they were doing a good job. And honestly, I've never heard anyone have any negative about Corey and his company. In fact, I have heard it looked better than it's ever looked before. Why was the committee disbanded?
I was one person that voted on that, just for the simple fact, the liaison from the committee was very disrespectful, yelled at the council. I'm not gonna put up with it. We shouldn't have to.
I agree.
That's
Yeah,
one
I
reason why I voted to disband it. That was probably the only reason to disband it. On a personal level, I respect every single one of those people that were on that committee. But if they would have probably sent somebody else that was a little more professional and tactful, they probably wouldn't have got my vote.
Well, I hope that I'm not sure that you will reconsider Corey, but I will say I have never heard a negative about, and we're out there a lot as Legion and Legion auxiliary members. We do a lot in the cemetery for our veterans, and it has never looked better. So we really appreciated the work that they did.
The thing about that was, he had the contract. He didn't want to sign it. It wasn't us that told him no. He had the contract.
But it sounds like there was, I just heard the letter tonight, and it sounded like there were extenuating circumstances between a city employee and him.
And that.
And
we
that's
don't know.
unfortunate.
It
Yeah,
is.
it really
It is.
is. So,
I will agree with
I
that.
think another small piece of this puzzle that everybody keeps forgetting is that in March of 2021, we accepted, under the recommendation of Jim Henderson, Mike moved, Brian Belden seconded, to accept his bid to mow 2021 and 2022.
well, that's what I thought, yeah.
His choice was to have it rebid because he was unhappy with the terms and said he didn't have an actual contract that he signed. And so that's why we referred it to our attorney to have an actual contract signed. So that way we are protecting our citizens and we have an actual contract signed. And that is the contract he declined
Sure.
to sign.
Well, and I don't wanna take a lot of time, but, you know, Memorial Day is coming quickly.
Mhm.
And
It is.
we all,
Yeah.
we're citizens too,
Mhm.
we want it looking nice and we need to do that for our
For sure.
forefathers, so.
For sure.
Thank you for listening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Because we gotta come to a solution tonight, guys.
Okay, so
And,
I will.
go ahead.
I just,
Come on now.
Can you state your name too?
Brenda Verostek.
No, I have an issue with only one person having oversight instead of a committee. Just simply for the fact that, one person, like all of us, can make an error. So we've only got one person looking over things, people can miss things. And I like the idea of having a committee, just so that there's more than one set of eyes looking over things and, you know, looking through things. And I'm sorry that someone obviously had an issue and maybe shouldn't have been on the committee, because obviously nobody should be worried about it. But I would like to ask that maybe you think about having a committee again.
Oh, for sure.
And hopefully someone that's a little more respectful
Yeah.
with everyone
Yeah.
that would be on the committee.
Yeah, I'm not totally against a cemetery committee. No.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I just think that it's a good idea to have more than one set of eyes looking at things and going over things so that things don't get missed and
Mhm.
things like that.
Yep.
That's it.
And generally, a committee is set up to take on the tasks so city people don't have to do it.
Exactly.
All a committee can do is make recommendations, unless the council passes in their charter or bylaws, whatever you want to call it, that they can spend money. There's people that do that. We don't have like a utility committee, but we have utility board, we have the cemetery board. Now, they don't have any city person watching over them. They are free to make decisions. And that's really what a committee should be doing, is making these decisions. They bring it up here and we tell them yes or no.
Recommendations, ideas.
That's all they are.
Exactly.
That's all they are. And, you know, in my experience in this, it seemed like they weren't free to do that. You know, you look at it, we've had that committee for what, 8 years? You know, 5, okay, even 5 years. And they were in charge of the beautification and upkeep on that. And that cemetery hasn't changed. You know, and I have to ask myself why. Why haven't we heard any kind of recommendation on beautifying, you know, and doing stuff out there, you know? Now, I have my own opinions, okay, which will remain with me, okay? But the way it was disbanded, a one-word entry on an agenda, cemetery, mowing contract. I will tell you here now, some of you remember when I was first on the council, and I put an agenda item on there. The city attorney and the mayor talked about it, and we're gonna take that agenda item off unless I was more specific. I didn't get to put a one-word agenda item on there. And it was despicable. The council basically told every citizen in Stuart, we don't care about your opinion. We want our employees' opinion only. That's the only person we're gonna listen to. Now, people may disagree with that. People may say people were rude, but I think it went back and forth up here from the council to the cemetery committee. So they responded with what they got. You know, having that cemetery committee, I'd like to see them do what they're supposed to do, make recommendations. They might have had some great ideas out there, you know?
But just for,
Try again?
just for the record, you know, it went back and forth for the last 8 months, way before I was on, just for the record.
That's my 2 cents.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rita.
John.
Good evening. My name is John Schwinger. I just want to clarify a few things. Pretty much the billing in most situations when it comes to the cemetery. My folks and I started mowing that 10 years ago. Last year was the first year we did not take care of that. Mike, to rebuttal your thing, the cemetery board, I'm not quite sure. I think they were, Mike Johnson, can you tell me when the cemetery board was actually created?
Yeah, 2014.
2014, but they never had direct lineage with me. Up until last year was the first year that the cemetery board had direct working with the lawn care provider.
Why is that?
I dealt with the head of the city,
Public Works.
which was Jim
Okay.
Henderson.
Okay, and I appreciate that, John. I'm just gonna say
That's the way
something.
to have that work.
If you look at the cemetery stuff up there, it says the cemetery committee is in charge of that.
Well,
And that's not, I'm not saying you're wrong or anything,
right, I just wanted to clear a few things.
and I get that. You know, that's what it says. That's what I expected when I read those rules. It says the cemetery committee does this.
Can we let
Yeah.
John finish?
So, I mowed it for 10 years, did do a few damage on a few things. You can ask Mike about a bronze thing, that we hit. We've hit a few things with the American Legion. What was brought to me, I was repaired. Unfortunately, I guess there were certain things that were brought to either to the city hall or to, Mike Johnson directly at the funeral home, and stated a damage to yet to this day, after now 11 years since I started, 1 year not doing it. I have never seen a bill. I've never had any direct action taken against me of anything for that. So just wanted to kind of clear that up, that, you know, I seem to be the bad guy and the villain in all this, and I can take it, and that's part of the job. I honestly think that you as a council are between 3 rocks and 1 hard spot. Does not matter what you do tonight, you will be crucified in one direction or another. Whether it's from the people that want one person to do it or another, between the person that, I'll just say it, Jim Henderson will have to work directly with that person since you don't have a cemetery board. You are not going to make everybody happy. There's 23 acres of ground out there and it's holy ground. I can tell you that it takes 22 to 24 man hours to mow it, and that does not matter if that's 1 guy or 3 guys. It averages out the same. Takes about 16 to 18 man hours to trim it. I only trimmed it with 5 or 6 guys, so you had to spend 3 hours trimming it. If you want an employee to mow that himself, you're gonna need about 50 hours, because there's nobody here in this room that can weed eat for 18 hours straight at the same pace, me included. It's impossible. When I first took that over, it was stated by previously somebody else that it was sprayed before. When I took it over, it was 95% white Dutch clover and dandelions everywhere, and you could not step foot on a broadleaf. It is pretty clean now. I did spray it again last year. We do have a few things. I'm pretty proud of that. I got to take that from something that was not beautiful and nobody really cared about. But now it seems to be an awful large topic, and it is spanning over a long time. And I just feel that it needs to be put to bed one way or another. I personally don't want to mow it. It does not matter what amount of money you gave me, I will not mow it, because of the backlash that will happen if one bad thing happens. The first time a piece of equipment sets foot on that property, you're gonna have a phone call. And you're gonna find grass on headstones. And my wife had half a shoebox full of grass from my folks' headstone, because see, I have 2 parents that are dead in the ground out there. So it's very important to me too. And we started keeping a shoebox full of grass clippings, because they were all supposed to be blown off. I threw it away. Did not bring it to you, did not deliver it to anybody's doorstep, because I took care of it for 10 years and I know what it takes, and it's a pain and it's a chore, but I wanted to be a better person, so I threw it away. Nobody's going to be perfect. There's absolutely no way. There's many other factors out there besides a lawnmower or somebody digging a grave or kids playing in the north end of the North Cemetery to drink. There's more beer cans back there. You could take into Leakey's Nickel and probably get a 6-pack out of it every week. I just want everybody to know that if I'm labeled the bad guy because I've done all these headstone damages, I'm very sorry, because that was never my intention. I took that on as a 2-year contract, looped it up, made it for 10 years. My father took the pride in doing that. He wanted to do it even after my mother passed away. Now that he's gone and he's in the ground out there, I'm done with it. So the whole idea of the continuation of nobody saying my name, but everybody saying that I did damage, I'll take it. That's what they're referring to as me. But it is a lot better than it was 12 years ago when I started. I don't care. There were shrubs out there, bushes out there that have been cut up and removed. I asked Jim Henderson to trim the pine trees on the west side of it, told him if he trimmed them and put them on the ground, I will chip them and get them out of there for free, and I did. No dollars. There are volunteer people out there that volunteer lots of time. There are people that drive through there 3 times a day. It does not matter. But I just wish you all the best of luck. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, whatever you figure out,
Thank you, John.
I hope you
You're
stick
doing
with
it
it.
for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Bob, go ahead. Yes.
I'm going to speak just as respectfully as I can. I sat through most of these meetings where all this came through. I would have to say the meeting where the committee was disbanded was one of the more disappointing actions in the way it came out that I've seen in these chambers from people of good meaning in trying to do things. Because this, I appreciate we have citizens that will set up here. It's not easy. I understand that. And one of the things that I told my brother is lack of discussion before a vote, I think can cause bad outcomes. We should hear some people. I'm sure glad that you said, let's hear from some people tonight. And I would say that on anything that involves volunteers, the community on sensitive issues, discussion is what we need. We don't have to move. But I do see, I'm going to try to summarize this. There's so many good things going on in this town that we got to get through this portion. There's too many great things going on. I would suggest the council has 2 missions tonight. One is to find a way to get this thing mowed soon, and then start looking for long-term. I would request that you do get a reformatted cemetery committee, hear their plans, and start working. And it's going to take some dropping of ego and old grudges and old problems, but it's too important for the council and the public works and the cemetery volunteer committee not to be able to work together in the future. It's too important. There's too many good things happening in this community for this to become a sore spot. But there are 2 issues. I would say it's not the time to say, oh, we're going to put it right now. The number one is find a way to mow, but get that on the thought process. Get a couple of leaders to start talking about a reformatted committee, what it means, what the plans would be, and approach the council in a month or 2, but for the future. That's what I would do if I was in your shoes. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else have anything?
Is this forum limited solely to people who live in town?
No.
Can I speak? Okay.
State your name and
Hi, my name is Skylar Henderson. For full disclosure, I am the daughter of Jim Henderson. There's a lot of things I want to say. I'm sorry, when I get emotional, my voice starts to crack. I'm going to give a little bit of a personal perspective. Jim Henderson has been taking care of this city for a couple of decades, since I think my husband and I did the math, since we were about 10. And the thing that I want people to think of is, what personal motivation would Jim have to do terrible things that he's been accused of? He's dedicated his whole life to taking care of the city, to working his butt off, to putting blood, sweat, and tears into working for everybody. I hear a lot of what he does, and I hear a lot of what he can't do, what he's been unable to accomplish, and there's a lot of personal business that's maybe brought to council, maybe some personal grudges, stuff like that, that as an outsider who I went back through and I watched the council meetings that are available online. That's a great resource to look at. It's somewhat embarrassing as someone who lives out of the community to look in and see the kind of byplay that happens and the disconnect in the council itself. I get everybody has their different opinions and their different wants for the community. There is a lot of not really favoritism, things like that, but it becomes personal when it should be about the community and about making sure that everything is taken care of and not about how can I stick it to this guy and how can I talk bad about this person. And I would certainly hope that we would keep in mind that nobody has a personal vendetta to ruin a cemetery and to ruin the parks or to do this or to do that. It's just if that could be kept in mind of what motivation could there possibly be before we all think about this person as so evil, when I've been in his life since 2010 and I get to hear almost every day how much he does and what his next project is and what kind of things he gets to do. And it's interesting, it's great to hear that because he's kept very busy. It's also sad to see when he works extremely hard, when Corey works extremely hard. And then our only solution is to, well, let's punish them because now this decision has been made. I would ask that the council remembers that there's no personal business that should be brought to council. When you walk in the room, when you sit at your tables, it should be remembered that this is about the city and this is about your community. I grew up here. I no longer live in the community, but I'm here to visit my father-in-law, and I want this to be a space and a community of getting along and of not hating thy neighbor. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you, Skylar.
Anybody else?
Okay.
So after hearing what John Swinger has said, I think it brings to light how many hours involved out in that cemetery before we dump this on our city employees, because I know what these guys go through and they absolutely don't have time. Yes, they might get an employee, but then you have to go through the, hopefully they're trained, CDL, mowing stuff, if you get one hired. But I absolutely think that's a wrong decision to dump this on these guys right now, because there's so many projects that are not getting done in this town. And people complain about the comp time they put in. Well, you got 2 employees doing what 6 do in Greenfield, 4 or 5 does in Guthrie. I commend the work these guys do. So hopefully we can come up with a solution on the mowing, because my property is right next to the cemetery. And so
Do either of you have a recommendation?
I have a recommendation to take the next lowest bid. I talked to Ace this afternoon about it. Because these guys cannot do it. And like I say, even if they hired 1 employee, that isn't near enough to do the cemeteries and all that work. 170 trees to take down.
I mean, is it something that, whatever decision we make, we've ultimately said we don't want to make a long-term decision, correct?
Correct.
So is it something that maybe we can find something to do for a couple months and go from there? I don't know. I mean, obviously it's at stalemate.
At least get us to Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Okay,
So and that was the intent of giving it to the city
Well,
public.
Let him talk.
Remember, we just heard a speech, we're supposed to be respectful, okay? That was my intent, was just to get us a couple months, okay? Wasn't to give it to them full time, so I don't want people to make that or infer that that's what I was attempting to do. If we do something on the short term, which I think we should also revisit Bob's idea of, and other people who said that we should look at revamping the cemetery committee. Because that's, again, designed to take the pressure off the city people. I don't understand when you got people like Mary Pease that you threw off this committee, and Alberta High Rock, and even Nick Asper. I know people, you can rub people the wrong way sometimes, but they were stepping up to try to do something for the committee or for the community. I really think that is an important part to bring those recommendations, because we don't always have the right ideas, No employee always has the right ideas, and it just broadens our experience. So if we're talking about a short-term solution, I think we need to do something short-term for at least a couple months.
I think that Jim and Corey have already voiced that they don't have time between now and Memorial Day to get it done. I mean, and maybe we look at it shortening the contracts instead of 2 years, we do a year just to give it a trial run and see what happens. I mean, I don't know.
One year, the
It's
next
not-
lowest employee.
It's not my,
Get
obviously,
done.
decision,
Or
and I
how
can't
about 6 months?
make any decisions.
This is May, June, July,
You-
August,
Till
September,
November.
October, November, that's 6 months.
Yeah.
And
So just
we'd be talking the mowing and. Correct.
There were the other
Yeah.
two bids.
Because
No, because we don't, well, the only other spraying contract we have is John Schwinger.
John Swinger. And you already said that, didn't you, Ace, that we could possibly take them on, and then the next lowest bid would be John Swinger for
That's,
the spray.
yeah, was what we received.
And I believe he's already said that he will not do that.
He said he wouldn't mow, he didn't say he wouldn't spray.
John Swinger,
Well, we're
would
having
you
a
be willing to
disagreement back here.
spray? You were the next lowest bid. on
Yeah,
spray.
I would be willing to spray it,
But
and
no,
if you need assistance on the back end, even though I love to get my name dragged through the mud, I have left one lawnmower out of my 6 with a bagging unit on it. If somebody would go in and mow that thing, I will assist somehow. I don't know what kind of financials, but that thing's gonna need bagged. I will help, but somebody else needs to mow it and trim it. I'll help on the back end and try and clean up. You have 3 weeks to get done, what should have been mowed 3 times.
Yeah. Because John stepped up and helped on his own when our lost, how many cedar trees in the north of.
Okay, so.
Thank you.
So- Go ahead.
I think, I kind of agree with, I think you guys were going in the same direction. Maybe we just give it to somebody to finish out the year that will buy us time. Maybe we can form a committee again in that time, just do it for this year. We can, we can do a 2-year whatever later down the road.
Okay.
That's good, that's
But
good,
I think we just need a solution right now so we can get it done.
yeah.
And I appreciate you, John, for stepping up and saying that you would help with something like that.
But the mowing can only be done by the person we give it to, right? Nobody else can mow it. Is that right?
But that's not subcontracting.
Well, I just want to be clear.
No, subcontract, but if somebody is willing to mow, if that mowing person has employees, you can't-
Will they be considered, will you be considered an employee of whoever gets it? John?
No, I'll be considered my own contract.
Okay, so.
so you're disallowing a free, well, whatever. I mean,
I'm just saying, we gotta have a contract signed.
What's the financially, the previous was for 2 years.
It was.
Will that change if it's only?
I don't have the bid numbers. with me.
I-
You get what I'm asking?
It would just be per year.
I have it here, I have it. That was what.
Are they willing to only just half?
No, it would be, like his was 31.5 each year.
Oh,
So-
it was, okay. Okay, I didn't know if it was for the total 2
No,
years.
no,
that's
It's written
per year.
Each year.
Each year.
I get it.
Okay.
I was thinking it was maybe
I
it's a
would like
total
to
of 2 years.
recommend that you do it for the year, not 6 months, and then you gotta try to find somebody to do it till November, so it's done. And then the next lowest bid, John Swinger, spraying it, so you don't have to worry about finding another contractor or adding on to this.
We're free to
This will get
open
us
up.
to November, through November. So,
The mowing season is extended over the year.
well, that's what our contract says. It runs through April through November.
Yeah.
So
So whoever that person would.
I think 6 months is gonna cover us here.
Okay, so who we talking about? Who we gonna give him the mowing job?
Well, that's the next thing we need to discuss.
Okay, from the minute that I have here, the next lowest bid will be TCB Lawn Care LLC. That was 26,500. And the one after it was Kevin Gomez, but that was disqualified because he didn't
Insurance.
go for insurance. Then the one next to him was Countryside, that's withdrawn, and then Schwingle Lawn Care, 40,000. Yeah.
Which has been withdrawn.
So, and on the spraying, Schwingle was the next one, 26, $2,684, and custom long tail was $6,600. So the next lowest bid on the mowing would be TCV Long. The next
26.5.
on the spraying would be Schwinger 2684.
So we would need a contract written up for 6 months for that, and we need a contract for the sprinkler, because we didn't get one from our attorney for whatever reason. I don't know why we didn't
I think
get
the
one.
attorney can just make revisions to the
Yeah.
current contract,
I'm-
just
I'm-
changing dates and
I
numbers.
agree with that,
We
so,
can do that, yes.
on that, so.
You want it 6 months?
Do we need to have something in place? I don't know the time frame on how this is gonna go, how long this could be before that contract is signed.
Well, why don't you just ask him?
Now you approve it and
If they
authorize
approve it, we
me
can
to
get it to them, just
approve it.
overnight.
That's fine, I'm just saying, like, if, what if
Are you
it's,
talking about the attorney?
no, I'm just saying, until we are cleared to go with this.
Here's the way you go. You moved and second to approve, whoever you want to approve, authorize me to get the contract done with the lawyer and have him sign it and go do the job. That can take a day.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. I'm not saying, like, if this takes a week, we're still in.
That attorney's probably gonna have their
No,
secretary
it's gotta be
change it in 5 minutes.
Motion, and you guys can help me out if you need to, would be to award the mowing contract to the next lowest bidder, whatever it is,
TCB.
okay? For a period of 6 months, beginning May of 2022, ending in November 2022.
It just
With
was a
all
one-year
of the-
contract, right?
Contract, everything as previously stated.
Yes.
And then we can enter into a contract with, John, whatever your company's name is, John, what is it?
Schwinger Lawn Care.
Oh, is that it? Okay, well, that's easy. Schwinger Lawn Care, I don't know what you call it, something different. For spraying, that's gonna be a one-time, you just spray in one time, right, a year?
Mike.
Yeah, go ahead, I don't, you gotta quote, go ahead.
First of all, did you close out the public forum?
We're back to number 11.
Okay, just want to make sure so everything's official.
Yes, we're back to number
What does
11.
the contract run to? November 1st or 15th?
15th.
15th.
So 6 months?
Yeah, May to November, 6 months.
So why don't we just do, never mind, I can't.
That's what we have in our,
April 15th to May
in
15th
our
is a one-year contract.
specifications for
Why
right
don't
now.
you just do the
So
one-year
that's something that
contract
we
for
can look at
specification?
later on. But I'm asking you, you would spray it one time this year, right?
Yeah, just get straight in the fall.
Okay, spray it in the fall. So, and to enter into a contract with Schwinger Lawn Service for spraying
James, go ahead.
one time this year. Go ahead.
Mike, I got a- So,
Yeah.
since the mowing season's been shortened from the original bids,
Yeah.
shouldn't we actually, isn't it gonna be less?
No, they'll have to mow it 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna incur a lot of fuel costs.
It's gonna have to be mowed 2 or 3 times just to get it right away. I mean, like John said, bag it. I mean, this could be a lot of work this next week. It'll be about the same amount of time getting it done.
And the city's saving $5,000 if
Because
you go with the
you're
lower
a
bid.
week and a half behind right now.
I guess I don't know what you were.
He was, where I was going is, let's say we bid 25,000 for the entire mowing season, right? So if we approve that contract, we're approving a short length for the one month. Because technically,
bid money.
yeah,
Oh, so you're saying we should short the amount of money for that? And so if we're going 6 months, it should only be like 13 something, right?
Oh,
Because you start, I don't know, I mean,
He's saying like, essentially like chop a month off.
yeah.
right, because if we.
Because it went from May, it's gonna go,
But
or
not-
April to November, now it's gonna go May to
but
November.
now your mower has to mow twice as much because it hasn't been done.
But we're still
So they're-
catching all the mowing.
Right, because they're incurring all these
Of the
extra
season.
fuel costs and the fuel's $3.99 a gallon. I mean, I think, I don't know, but I mean, I see where you're going with it.
Okay, so,
I'm just asking.
all right. So the motion would be to go to TCB for 6 months, 26,500. And go to John Schwinger for $26.84 plus the labor. And then we'll do all the contract and the stuff, and then you authorize me to finish this contract and everything and have him sign and do the job.
Tomorrow, hopefully.
I will be talking on 7 o'clock.
So that was your motion, Mike? Okay, do we have a second then? Second by Dolly. How do you vote? Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Morgan?
No.
Dolly?
Yes.
Renslow?
Abstain.
Abstain?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
As we're entertaining this cemetery committee thing, once again, when we start talking about this, we need to have applications, just like for everything else, filled out. I'm just throwing that out there. So when we start entertaining the idea of having a cemetery committee, I would ask that these applications be filled out just like everybody else.
Did we put that in those?
I don't about this a couple months down the road, to make sure that gets done.
That's exactly.
We also have, Ryan, you want something?
Yes.
How are you coming on your list of different things when a new person comes in the community? You can give them a packet.
Yeah, Brenda and I are working on that,
Okay.
making progress on it. There's some things the chamber's trying to add to that packet. So, for instance, a lot of the businesses offer discounts or gift cards or things like that. So we've been in the process of trying to contact each of the businesses that have done it in the past and making sure that they want to continue that. So that's where we are in the process right now. As soon as we get those confirmations.
Yes,
Okay.
Once we get that confirmation, then we'll get the packets together.
Yeah.
It'll have to be approved.
Possibly, if you can work with the city, like 2-bag limit on garbage, we've got a compost area out here. A lot of people, well, we didn't know you had that, recycle bins. Just if there, and then I asked James, do you have a packet when you bought your new house out there on the covenants? Because a lot of people, I didn't know I couldn't have a trailer out there, pouring a pad and there's a trailer or camper parked there. Because it's different than infield development here.
Yeah, so there is a section that we're designing that would be important information for the city, so we can put things like that in there. At some point down the road when we're a little further along, we'll approach the city and get the information that they'd like to contribute. So we're in the process of doing that. At the June meeting, we'll be deciding the Grand Marshal and Citizen of the Year. So if somebody has an opinion on that, just email the stuartchamber@aol.com and we'll get that information. The big news, we were contacted by WHO every year on the week of the Cyclone Hawkeye game. They do RVTV. They basically have an RV that they go around to a few different locations throughout the week leading up to the game. And this year, Stuart has been chosen as the September 8th location. So we'll be forming a committee to plan that out in the interest of avoiding some of the mistakes that came up during RAGBRAI planning. I would really appreciate if somebody from the city, somebody from maybe Public Works, and the police could maybe at least be involved in the committee so that we can get your input on planning for that.
You have a volunteer sign-up sheet.
Yeah, just
Or
either
announce
speak
when
to
you-
myself or Brenda and we can, sorry.
Jason, I am.
Volunteering.
Yeah.
Maybe I will.
I'm gonna
Maybe I will.
volunteer, I just.
Yeah.
don't.
So speak to either me or Brenda, and we can get information because we'll be putting together that committee. So that's pretty exciting. And then last thing, tomorrow, it's something I've been pushing for some time now. We're considering joining the Main Street Iowa program. It's a downtown economic development program that's through the Iowa Development Authority. So we're doing, a small group of us are doing a walk around with the coordinator at 10 a.m. But then there's a lunch and learn at noon here in the Chamber Council room. And we'll be doing like a lunch and learn that'll give the public information about the program, what's involved with it. Volunteers are required with the program. So a lot of communities around Iowa that become a part of this Main Street program have seen a lot of economic development growth
particularly in their downtown. So if anyone's interested in learning more about it, we'll be here at noon in this room. So that's what I have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything? Council?